Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Mathu, and today I just got an important question from one of the great applicant who's applying this year. And the question that we have is, what are the aspect and like what should be the content of a answer when someone asks you, tell me about yourself, particularly in the residency. So everyone has a different idea, but regarding this questions particularly, I have searched in Google and I talked to many my mentors, particularly the attending the peoples who already got the match, and I came to a point, I came to a result that the you should talk about in the bullet point, someone who, because I saw some of the applicant, they have the questions, they just they just remember and then just the copy and paste in the interview. That's not a good point, because when you are just copy and paste, like whenever you are just reading a question answer, so someone can anticipate, someone can understand that you are just you know just giving a speech, like the written speech. That's not a good idea. So I would say, like, whenever you are preparing for the interview, you should have a bullet point. So what would be the bullet point for this question? So the number one, you should start from your background, like so what could be the background. So you can say, like, my name is this, and I'm from born raised in this town. And you can say something about your hometown as well, because this is the you know that's not that important, but that can help you to just make the mirror image in your interviewer. Because sometimes, like, if your town is interesting, they can remember something like, oh, I got someone who's from this area, and this is is very famous for this. So that's how it can help. And then you can start, like, I am from this area and I did this, and how you got into the medicines. Like, if you have an example, like why you got into the medicine, like why you choose the medicine, you can just explain. That should be like the 1 or 2 lines, not more than that. And then you can come up to your major part of your journey, that is your medical school. Like, in medical school you can talk about different things. Particularly, you can say something, like how good you were in terms of academic. And you can say something like, I got this GPA, or maybe you can say, like, I was among top 10, top 20, whatever. And then you can talk something about extracurricular activities, that could be organizing an event, or making something special. And then also a more important portion of the answer, that is like your clinical experience. So you can talk about where did you where and, like, not where, but you can say, like, what did you do. You can talk about your internship, you can talk about your anything after the medical, after the internship. But don't forget about your clinical experience, because um the interviewer, they are interviewing at least, like 30 to 40 applicant in a day. So they are, sometimes they could be very fatty. So they don't have they don't have a time to review your application. You should explain that, like, what particularly you did in the United States. Like, you can say something like, I did a 4 month of United States clinical experience, which was comprised of this, or you can name the hospital's name, or you can say, like, that was the externship, or you can say that was the internship, something like that. And then you should, not can, you should talk about why you are interested in that particular program. So that is very important. Like, if you are taking interview for a university program, you should brought your research onto the table. But if you are taking interview for a community program, then don't try to be over smart in terms of research, but because they don't like that much. If you just explain how you can just brought 2 or 3 research on the table, that would be fine. But don't try to be over smart in terms of research, particularly for the community program. And then you can say, you can you can say like, what is your future goal, but at the last you should explain, or you should tell them what are your hobbies, because this is the most important part, because residence is not that easy. You should have a something interested, yeah, you should have some hobbies that can help you to navigate those challenges during the residency. You should brought to those onto the table. But like, what could be the hobbies? So I would say, stick on your hobbies that you really like to do. You should have knowledge, the background knowledge of that particular hobby, because if you say like, I like to play guitar, so you should have knowledge of guitar, like what kind of guitar, like what pitch, what tone, there, because they are going to ask you few questions, right? It's depend upon the interview. Like if interviewer have some information about the guitar, then you know they can ask anything. So you should be very very careful in terms of hobbies. But I would say like, you should brought like one specific or one unique hobbies on the table, because that can help, that can give you a chance to remember, the interviewer. Because if you say something like, I like cooking, I like watching Netflix, this is very common, right? Most 90% of the people are saying that, so very careful about that one. And I would say, in the interview, this is like the content of tell me about yourself. But you know the most important thing for the residency interview is what? It is that how you control your interview. If your interviewer is controlling you, that means it's not a base interview. But if you are controlling the interviewer, you are almost like you are acing the interview. So how you can control the interview? So there are some sign point, I would say, like when you are talking about when you are saying, when you're explaining, whenever you are saying like, when you are giving an answer about tell me about yourself, you should give some sign point. So the question is, how would you you know give a sign point? Like, let's suppose you are very good at the research, so you should you know give us some hint, or you can say some incomplete answer in the tell me about yourself. So that's how the interview can ask a question about the research. So something like that, you can say like, I did 25 research that were very interesting. That's it. Don't say the name. So that's how interview can ask, like, so you say like, your research are very interesting, could you please tell me about something about. So by this way, you are controlling your interviews. Like when you are controlling your interview, most of the questions would be based on your strength, not the interview or the program. So that's how you can control your interview. And the second, and the other most important thing is like, you know uh, you should smile. But the most important thing is your soft skills. Like, what are the soft skills? Like the communication skills, everyone have the answer, but how would you present? That is the major difference. So let's suppose you are saying, you are answering your questions, right? If you are talking monotonic, it's not a good answer. So how you can be a polytonic? So you tell me about uh, yourself, answer should be like 1.5 minute, I would say. So in 1.5 minute, you should not be monotonic. Your speed should change like this, like ACG, right? So like your speed should be like slow and then fast, slow and then fast. And your tone should be your tone should be like the normal, and then you go up and then you go down like this. So how would you do that? So the first thing, when you are talking about something that's not that much important, so at that time your pitch should be slow and your speed should be fast, right? But when you are saying something very important, at that time your speed should slow down, your pitch should be high, like this. I would say, let's take an example like, uh, The first thing, I'm just giving an example. Don't brought your scores, USMLE score on the interview, because this is not a good point. Just say, let's suppose, I'm just taking an example. Let's suppose you are saying like, I did, I'm done with the USMLE step, all step, and my USMLE step 1 to 50, step 2 to 30, and step 3 is to 10, something like that. This is a monotonic. So how you can be a polytonic, something like that. So I'm done with all USMLE step 3. So just focus on the all. So I said what? I'm done with all USMLE step, including step 1, and my scores is 250. So slow down and your pitch should be high. And my USMLE step 2 CK is 230. And my USMLE step 3 is 210. Something like that. And if you want to be very smart, you can, let's suppose you want to highlight it to 50. Let's suppose your high score is to 50, so you should say like my USMLE step 1 is to 50, USMLE 2 is to 30, and USMLE step 3 is to 10, something like. So whatever your strength, try to emphasize more, so you can emphasize by your tone, your voice. That's all about you. Tell me about yourself. See you next video.